I'm meteorologist Caitlin McGrath. We are continuing to track what is now Tropical Storm Ian. It was downgraded to a tropical storm with the 5 o'clock advisory this morning with the National Hurricane Center, but it has strengthened ever so slightly. Winds back up to 70 miles per hour, and Ian is expected to become a Category 1 hurricane once again as we head throughout the day today prior to making its fourth and final landfall in South Carolina at some point tomorrow. It made its first landfall Tuesday in western Cuba, its second landfall over Sanibel Island in Florida yesterday afternoon, and then technically its third landfall just inland on Florida. But since it technically hit an island first, it got two landfalls in Florida, and South Carolina will see its fourth and final landfall as we look ahead toward tomorrow afternoon and evening. Now, thankfully, the worst of the storm right now churning off the Atlantic, still seeing the storm surge impact through parts of northeast Florida and Georgia. Some moderate to heavy rain falling from time to time. Still seeing those tropical storm force winds, of course, but the storm again expected to strengthen as it pushes off to the north and east as we head throughout the day today, eventually hooking to the north and west after strengthening into a Category 1 hurricane, making that landfall in Charleston sometime late Friday morning and early afternoon. Wouldn't be surprised if it was closer to the morning hours because the storm has been trending a little bit quicker as it moves off to the north and east and eventually north and west. But this is a really devastating outlook for Charleston. Most of the city sits right at sea level. Some parts of the city, in fact, below sea level. So when you bring in the amount of rain they're expecting, let alone the storm surge and those hurricane force winds, really not a good outlook for South Carolina. So if you have loved ones in the area, if you have property or any kind of interest in South Carolina, you need to check and make sure all the plans are in place because conditions will start to deteriorate later tonight ahead of that landfall expected sometime on Friday. Now, once Ian moves on shore, it will pretty quickly weaken back into a tropical storm by tomorrow evening. And then we have the remnants of Ian we'll be watching for this weekend by Saturday morning, working their way through western North Carolina and continuing to push off to the north and west. But as it does so, it will bring us rain for this weekend. New this morning, also we have tropical storm warnings, hurricane warnings in effect for parts of South Carolina into the coast of Georgia and northeast Florida. Also hurricane watches in effect for parts of Georgia, and everywhere you see highlighted in yellow, that's a tropical storm warning ahead of the tropical storm and hurricane force winds that are expected as Ian continues to move to the north. In terms of storm surge, there is still a minor storm surge threat in southwest Florida today. The National Hurricane Center saying they could see a storm surge of 1 to 3 feet, but thankfully that area is mostly over the Everglades. And then our focus shifts to the storm surge threat for the Carolinas. 4 to 6 feet of storm surge possible where the storm makes landfall. And of course, the farther north and south you get away from the center of the storm, the less storm surge, but even the entire North Carolina coast now under a threat for storm surge of 1 to 3, maybe even 2 to 4 feet. And northeast Florida continuing to see the storm surge threat as those winds continue to move on shore. So let's time out the rest of Ian. Here we are this afternoon, the storm continuing to churn over the ocean, making landfall sometime tomorrow. This is right around noon when we should see that landfall occur, if not slightly earlier than that, right around lunchtime tomorrow as a Category 1 hurricane. We'll just see clouds tomorrow. Not going to be a bright day by any means, but it does look mostly dry until the evening, and then we start to see the outer bands of that moisture work their way into our region. I do think we get through most of Friday dry, some showers developing later in the evening. Some models indicate that we could see the rain a little bit earlier than that. So when you send the kids off to the bus stop in the morning, I would send them with rain gear just in case the rain starts during pickup time in the afternoon. But I think a lot of folks will be okay, at least until we get to the later evening hours. Now the weekend, it doesn't look nice, but it also does not look like a washout. Here we are 7 o'clock Saturday morning. There is good guidance that the heaviest rain on Saturday will be in the morning hours, so maybe sleep in if you need to make some plans outside. Shoot for the afternoon because I do think it looks much drier. Often on showers, sure, possible throughout the entire day, but there will be plenty of dry hours, just overcast skies and cool temperatures, and then we do it all again on Sunday. Waking up, spotty showers, they'll continue throughout the day, still dry hours from time to time. And then we do it all again on Monday. A very similar forecast Sunday, Monday, all the way into possibly Tuesday. I think we could see some lingering moisture by Tuesday morning. So Monday, you'll need the rain gear for both commutes in the morning and the evening. And I think for Tuesday morning, plan ahead for a slower morning drive as well. But by the evening, we should have seen the last of the rainfall. Now, how much rain are we talking about? Well, off to our south, still some really eye-popping rainfall totals possible over the next several days. This is today all the way through Monday. So how much rain they'll see accumulate over the next several days, looking at an additional maybe 5 inches of rain in Jacksonville, 6 for Savannah, over 6 for Charleston, back into parts of Sumter. I started my career in Charleston, and the downtown area really doesn't take much to flood. 1-2 inches of rain can cause big issues given its proximity to sea levels. So this is a really devastating outlook for Charleston. Of course, the farther inland you go, the less rain you can expect, but still close to 3.5 in Augusta, closer to 4 inches of rain possible in Wilmington. And then as we get closer to home, most of us should end up in the 1 to maybe 2 inch rain range, but we do know Governor Youngkin has issued that state of emergency for Virginia. But the biggest threat really is well to our south. Norfolk, maybe close to 4 inches, 2 inches in Richmond. The farther north you go, the closer you get to D.C., the less rain you can expect. And you can see that pretty sharp cutoff right into parts of Pennsylvania where they really don't see much rain at all. So let's take a closer look at our rainfall totals closer to home. But again, keep in mind, this is just one computer model. It does not pinpoint how much rain will fall in your neighborhood. But I do like the idea that it does show most of us in that 1 to 2 inch rain when all is said and done. And keep in mind, we're talking about rain falling over a multi-day span from Friday night into Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and even Tuesday morning. So we really aren't looking at a big flood threat for us. The biggest flood concern would be as rivers and streams slowly start to rise, but I even don't think we see enough rain to have issues like that. In fact, this is going to be a pretty beneficial rain. It has been really dry so far this month. We are in a rainfall deficit for the month of September, but as we close out the month and head into early October, we will pick up some pretty much needed rain. Now notice again, the farther southwest and southeast you go, the more rain we might see. So if you're in southern Maryland, parts of central and southern Virginia, you can expect slightly higher rainfall totals. But that's the very latest on Ian. Of course, we'll get another advisory coming up at 2 o'clock and bring you a live update then.